The damaged Vulcan battleship shuddered as another explosion ripped through the engine room. The air grew stale as life support failed. Henry Scott slammed his fist on his desk as the distress call came through. "A Vulcan ship? In this sector?" The human mechanic shook his head. His repair facility orbited a resource-rich but uninhabited planet in the neutral zone of space, far from Vulcan territory. As humanity expanded across the galaxy, they encountered many alien civilizations, some friendly, some hostile. The Vulcans saw humans as a threat, upstart newcomers challenging the old order. Tensions had been high for years. The wrong move here could mean war. Henry had seconds to decide. Ignore the distress call and avoid an incident, or respond and risk it all to save the desperate Vulcan crew. He punched the comm. "Vulcan vessel, this is the human repair facility Asimov 6. We are responding to assist. Stand by." Henry suited up and boarded a shuttle. He knew repairing the notoriously aggressive Vulcan ship was a huge risk, but he also knew humans had a reputation to uphold out here on the galactic frontier. Besides, hadn't every job, every part his team had ever fabricated and installed, been giving their guests a glimpse of what made humanity special? As Henry's shuttle approached the battleship, he saw the extent of the damage. The once mighty vessel listed badly, billowing smoke and trailing wreckage. Whatever disabled the advanced Vulcan ship wasn't an accident. Henry steeled himself as he stepped aboard the alien craft. If he failed here, millions could die in the conflict that followed. But if he succeeded, the universe just might start to see humans in a different light. With the immediate threat neutralized, Henry turned his attention to uncovering the full scope of the Vulcan rebels' plans and preventing an interstellar war. He faced the Vulcan captain, Primus, both men sizing each other up. Primus spoke first. "It seems we have a common enemy. The rebels who attacked my ship are a rogue faction, seeking to destabilize the region and target your people." Henry nodded. "Then we'll have to work together to stop them." They formed an uneasy alliance, two adversaries united by necessity. Henry contacted Earth, warning the government about the impending danger. The response was swift. A fleet was dispatched to rendezvous with Asimov 6, ready to confront the rebels and negotiate with the Vulcan leadership. Back at the repair facility, Henry's team raced against time to fix the Vulcan battleship. They needed its advanced tech and firepower to stand a chance against the rebels. Engineers swarmed over the hull, welding, rewiring, rebuilding. Sparks flew in the zero-G as they labored nonstop. During brief respites, Henry and Primus shared stories of their worlds. "On Vulcan, we pride ourselves on logic and control," Primus said. "But perhaps we have forgotten the value of instinct, of heart." Henry chuckled. "And humans could learn a thing or two about discipline. Guess we're not so different after all." A grudging respect grew between them, but trouble was brewing. Among Henry's crew, a spy lurked, sabotaging the repairs. With a few keystrokes, they sent a coded message to the rebels. The human fleet was on its way. Armed with this knowledge, the rebels launched a devastating surprise attack on the Earth ships. Explosions lit up the void as the battle raged. The human fleet reeled, caught off guard and outgunned. Desperate times called for desperate measures. Henry made a risky decision. He would take the half-repaired Vulcan ship into the fray, with Primus and a skeleton crew of humans and Vulcans. They blasted out of the hangar on a wing and a prayer. Arriving at the battle, they saw the rebel ships pressing their advantage, the human fleet falling back. Henry took the helm, hands flying over unfamiliar controls. Primus manned tactical beside him. "Ready all weapons," Henry barked. "We're going in." The sleek Vulcan battleship knifed into the heart of the rebel formation. Its advanced weapons hit home, sending enemy ships spinning away, trailing fire. Henry pulled off daring maneuvers, the inertial dampeners struggling to compensate. Primus targeted the rebels with cold precision. Firing solution locked. Engaging. A barrage of quantum torpedoes erupted from the forward tubes, ripping into the enemy vessels. The humans added their skills, improvising unconventional tactics that caught the rebels flat-footed. Slowly, the tide began to turn. Suddenly, more ships dropped out of warp, a coalition of other alien races. They had been monitoring the situation from afar and recognized the Vulcan rebels' actions as a threat to the galaxy's fragile balance. With their added might, the rebels were routed, fleeing into the depths of space. In the aftermath, as the various factions came together to broker a truce and address the root causes of the conflict, Henry marveled at the role he and his small repair facility had played in averting all-out war. His willingness to help, to take risks and think outside the box, had made all the difference. As he watched the Earthships, Vulcans, and other aliens gathering as tentative allies, he knew this was only the beginning. His actions had drawn attention from across the stars. He was now a player on a much bigger stage, with all the rewards and perils that entailed. New challenges awaited, but for now, he savored the momentary peace and the knowledge that when beings of different worlds worked together, anything was possible. Henry's hands flew over the unfamiliar controls of the Vulcan stealth vessel as they approached the rebel stronghold. The sleek ship glided silently through the inky void, its cloaking technology rendering it invisible to conventional sensors. "We're approaching the outer defense perimeter," Primus announced, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. "Their defenses are formidable." Henry nodded, his eyes sharp. "Then we'll have to be more formidable. Any weak points?" Primus studied the readouts. "There's a gap in their sensor coverage near the southern pole. If we time our approach with the planet's rotation, we might slip through undetected." "Might have to do," Henry muttered. He adjusted their course, the ship responding instantly to his commands. As they entered the atmosphere, turbulence buffeted the vessel. Red warning lights flashed across the control panel. Henry gripped the controls tighter, fighting to keep them steady. "We've got company!" one of the human crew members shouted. "2 rebel fighters on an intercept course!" Henry's mind raced. They couldn't risk a firefight this close to the base. "Primus, can we use the planet's magnetic field to mask our signature?" The Vulcan's eyebrows raised slightly, the closest he came to showing surprise. "Unconventional, but possible. Adjusting our shield harmonics now." The ship dove towards the planet's surface, skimming just above a vast desert of crimson sand. The pursuing fighters struggled to get a lock, their sensors confused by the magnetic interference. "It's working," Primus confirmed. "We've lost them." They touched down in a hidden canyon, the strike team disembarking swiftly. Henry took point, leading them through winding ravines towards the rebel base. Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet began to shift. "Sink sand!" Henry yelled. "Everyone, find solid ground!" The team scrambled, some barely managing to grab onto outcroppings of rock as the treacherous terrain tried to swallow them whole. Henry reached out, hauling a Vulcan officer to safety. They pressed on, finally reaching the outskirts of the rebel compound. Massive energy shields shimmered around the facility. "How do we get past those?" Henry wondered aloud. Primus studied the defenses. "The shields are cyclic. There's a fraction of a second delay between rotations. If we time it right..." Henry grinned. "We can slip through. Let's do it." One by one, they dashed through the momentary gaps in the shield. Inside, they encountered fierce resistance. Disruptor fire lit up the corridors as they fought their way deeper into the facility. Henry and Primus moved in perfect sync, covering each other's blind spots and taking down rebel troops with ruthless efficiency. Their mixed team of humans and Vulcans followed suit, differences set aside in the heat of battle. Finally, they reached the central command hub. Henry's eyes widened as he saw the weapon the intelligence had warned them about. It dominated the center of the room, a massive, pulsing orb of energy that crackled with barely contained power. "By the stars," Primus breathed. "If that detonates, it could crack a planet in 2. Henry's mind raced, searching for a solution. "We need to disable it fast, but how?" As alarms blared and rebel reinforcements closed in, Henry and Primus shared a look. They both knew what had to be done, regardless of the cost. Henry's eyes widened as he scanned the data streaming across his terminal. "Primus, we've got a problem." The Vulcan leaned in, brow furrowed. "What is it?" "The rebels. They're not done. Look at this." Henry pulled up a holographic display revealing schematics for a massive weapon. Primus's face hardened. A super weapon, we must act quickly. They traced the weapon's location to Xylax Prime, a resource-rich moon dripping with defenses. Henry contacted Earth and Vulcan, assembling an elite strike team of their best operatives. Aboard the captured stealth vessel, Henry gripped the controls as they navigated a treacherous asteroid field. Chunks of space rock hurtled past, scraping the hull. "Rebel Patrol, 3 o'clock!" a human crewman shouted. Henry cut the engines, letting their ship drift silently behind a massive asteroid. They held their breath as the patrol passed by, oblivious. Arriving at Xylax Prime, they faced an impenetrable energy shield. Henry studied the moon's surface, noticing peculiar crystal formations. "Those Xylaxian crystals," he mused. "If we can harness their properties." They landed discreetly, Henry leading a team to mine the crystals while Primus coordinated from the ship. Sweat beaded on Henry's brow as he carefully extracted the volatile minerals. Back aboard, Henry jury-rigged a device to amplify the crystal's energy-disrupting properties. The shield before them flickered and failed. "Now!" Henry shouted. They repelled from the ship, touching down on the outpost's perimeter. Disruptor fire immediately lit up the night. Henry dove behind a barricade, returning fire as Primus coordinated their assault. Inside, they fought room by room. Henry grabbed a piece of rebel tech, rewiring it into an impromptu sonic weapon. The halls filled with screeching feedback, disorienting the enemy. Primus's voice crackled over the comm. "Henry, we've located the control room." They burst in, finding themselves face-to-face with the rebel leader, a scarred Vulcan with wild eyes. "One more step and I detonate the weapon," he snarled, finger hovering over a console. Henry raised his hands. "All right, you win. Just show us how it works." The rebel sneered, inputting the launch sequence. Henry's eyes darted to Primus, who gave an imperceptible nod. As the countdown began, Henry smiled. "You should have checked your targeting systems." The rebel's eyes widened in horror as he realized his mistake. The weapon discharged, its energy plunging into Xylax Prime's unstable core. "Run!" Henry yelled as the floor began to buckle. They sprinted through collapsing corridors, debris raining down. Henry hauled Primus into the ship just as a chasm opened beneath them. The vessel shot into space as Xylax Prime tore itself apart, the rebel base consumed in the conflagration. Battered and exhausted, they limped back to Aramax Prime. As they docked, Henry turned to Primus. "Not bad for a human, eh?" Primus raised an eyebrow. "Indeed, though I believe there is still much we can learn from each other." They stepped onto the station, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, together.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.